Booker Prize season. We are so back. I am so excited for this year's long list and I wanted to talk to you guys about it. Each year I challenge myself to read the entire Booker Prize long list. I've committed myself to this personal challenge and I have read so many books that I normally wouldn't necessarily gravitate towards, and I have found so many new favorites. So this year will be no different, I am sure. I am so incredibly excited. The shortlist comes out on September 23rd. The first book that I really want to read, I think I really want to read Endling by Maria Riva. This is the book about snails. This is about a lady who is breeding together endangered snails. It says here that she's kind of like a maverick scientist, so she's like a nomad, and her family are trying to tell her to settle down and start a family. But little do they know, she is dating many men, not for love, but to fund her work. It says she entertains Westerners who come to Ukraine on guided romance tours, believing they'll find docile brides untainted by feminism. This is definitely something that I want to read first. This might be a bit of a long video because we have 13 books to get through and I wanted to be able to give you my thoughts as I go. So I will do my best to do that chapter thing where you can see each book in case you do want to skip through and hear my thoughts about a very specific book. But if you do watch this entire video, then I love you and I really appreciate you because this is going to be a bit of a long one. Let's go. Okay, hi. So I finished Endling by Maria Riva. Okay, I feel like this camera position's weird, but I finished it. It's incredible. I really think I started off this Booker Prize journey with an absolute bang. It's incredible. Endling is the last of a species. This story is just unique, compelling, and completely daring. It's honestly one of a kind, I think. I haven't really read anything like it. I got to the halfway point and I thought something was wrong because halfway through it switches completely and we change from this story about a scientist and a commentary on the mail order bride industry. It switches to the bombing of Ukraine and the war, and this is taking place during the times that Russia did bomb and invade Ukraine. It was a really horrendous time in history. We are seeing history repeat itself at the moment with what is happening in Gaza and to the Palestinian people, and it really hits deep. It becomes very metafictional. There's this suddenness where all of a sudden the story switches, it stops. And I think the suddenness is part of the symbolistic charm of this novel. The bombing of Ukraine isn't something that you need warning for. It happens, it's real, it's harsh, and it's sudden. And I think Maria Riva really represented that in the sudden switch up halfway through. I don't really want to spoil too much, but it was incredibly sharp and brutal and real, and at sometimes the dark humor in this was really well done. It was funny, but you're like, why is this funny? The fact that this is a debut novel is extraordinary. I really started off with the highest of highs of this long list. Endling is 100%, I already know it now, is making its way into my personal shortlist, and even it feels like a winner, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. I'm yet to read the rest. I finished Flesh by David Soleil this morning. I think that David Soleil's writing is very to the point. It is very blunt, and I heard someone else use the word sparse to describe his writing, and I think that's a perfect encapsulation of what it is like to read Flesh. Flesh is a snapshot of this man, Ishban's life in paragraph form. We follow him. Each chapter is a different time of his life, and often you are left with no resolution to what is happening in that chapter. You are jumping huge amounts of time and getting told what happens in the interim as a brief. Oh yeah, by the way, this person died, or this happened. So it takes a little bit to get used to. I think it is unique for me to read. I've never necessarily read books that jump that much in time so frequently. I don't think we're supposed to necessarily connect or like him. I mean, he's kind of horrible. I don't agree with majority of the things that he did. He lives kind of a detached life. I kind of kept thinking of the book Stoner, the main character being kind of detached and stoic and not really doing anything to change his trajectory of life, just kind of skating through. I think that Ishban is kind of similar in that sense. He just kind of skates through, although he's a much more unlikable character. But I did really enjoy it. I was surprised that I enjoyed it because a couple of my mutual book friends actually had pretty negative things to say about Flesh. So I kind of went in with a preconceived notion of probably not going to enjoy this. But I did. I really did enjoy it. So I just got home from work and I finished Universality by Natasha Brown on the train. Let's talk about it because I fear that I'm like one of the very few people that actually didn't enjoy this book at all. I mean, it was okay. For me, it was one of those like aggressively average reads. I really struggled to just enjoy it at all or like connect to the character. This is about a man that gets bludgeoned by a gold bar, hence the gold bar on the cover, and pretty much straight away the mystery is solved. Like within the first couple chapters you find out what happened. So you find out what happens pretty much straight away, and it happens so quickly, and you get this resolution that it went over my head a little bit. I was like, oh, okay. Anyways, and then we go into this social critique of journalism, classism, racism in modern day Britain. And I'm not British, I'm Australian, and I simply just couldn't really connect too much to this. It felt like there's so many different perspectives, and we're jumping to different timelines, to different people's views, different stories. And because it's all within this 150, 60 page little novel, it felt like there was so many threads and like none of them connected. It felt like one of those murder mystery boards where there's like a billion threads, but then there's so many that it just starts to get all jumbled up. There's just simply not enough pages to flesh out all of these different topics that were brought to the forefront. This is my first Natasha Brown, but I do know that she came out with a debut novel 4 years ago or 5 years ago called Assembly, and it's like highly regarded and people love it. I haven't read it personally, so I'm not really familiar with Natasha Brown's writing, but this kind of it's a very like modern style writing. It's very fresh. It's very Sally Rooney-esque. It's punchy, and I definitely enjoyed the writing style. It's just, I really struggled to care. I felt like everything was just over my head. It was just, as soon as I started to kind of like get into it, and I'm like, oh, this is a really interesting look on activism groups, and then next thing I know, we're moving on to someone else, if that makes sense. So I feel like I'm one of the only people that does, like a lot of my mutuals have posted really positive things about this book, so I feel like I might be one of the very few that didn't really like it too much. Life update time. Okay, so I am in for a massive week this week. Like, I've got this big event that I'm working, and I'm pulling some long days coming up. It is currently Wednesday, and my next day off, I've been working since Monday, and my next day off isn't until next Saturday. So I'm going to be pretty flat out the next few days. I am going to absolutely try my hardest to read them all. The short list comes out in like 10 days, and I need to get a wriggle on, but I simply won't have a crazy amount of time. The next 4 days is my busiest. We will see how we go. So the vlog here might get a little bit disjointed, a little bit patchy. So I will try my best to film as much as possible. I'm working for a different event company than I normally work for. If you didn't know, I work in events and we are currently rolling into event season. So I'm going to be very busy, which is a good thing because money, but it's also a bad thing because when you work a lot, you don't really have time for your passions. So nevertheless, I will be trying to get majority of my reading done either early morning or late at night. I will try and record as much as possible to bring you guys along with me. Let's try and get this long list finished. Hello, I have a update. I have finished The South by Tash Orr. I managed to actually read this during my lunch breaks over the past week or so. I've been working quite a lot and I managed to finish it. Now, I don't know if it's because of the environment I read this in, but I just couldn't really feel the rhythm with this book. This is a queer coming of age love story about a young boy in Malaysia. It was one of those books that I just couldn't really sink my teeth into. The best way, I can describe it is I just couldn't really feel the rhythm. It felt hard to kind of get through, which is surprising because coming of age stories, especially love stories and queer love stories, is actually a genre that I tend to gravitate towards. Some of my favourite books are queer coming of age stories like Shuggie Bane, Young Mungo. I really liked Marlowe. And so it was a bit surprising that I didn't really enjoy this. It was okay, but it just didn't really hit the mark for me. I'm unsure if this is because I was kind of only reading it during lunch breaks during a very busy week. I would say this was like a 2.5 star read for me. But I'm slightly disappointed that I didn't like this. A lot of people I've seen actually do enjoy this book, so I feel like I missed the memo on this one. So I lost a bit of footage, so I'm going to have to kind of do like a batch review right now for you. So let me catch up and tell you my reviews on the books that weren't shortlisted, and then we will go into the shortlisted books that I haven't reviewed yet, and then go and talk about that. So the next book I read was Seascraper by Benjamin Wood. This wasn't shortlisted, which is very disappointing, to be completely honest with you, because I thought this was brilliant. This is a story about a man that works in the sea. He is a shrimp scamper. I forget what it's called, but he essentially goes out in dusk and dawn and casts a net out and catches shrimp. It's a very gloomy, depressing kind of atmosphere and job. He goes out with a horse and carriage. You can kind of taste the salt in the air when reading it. This movie director comes into town and offers Thomas, the main character, kind of this lifeline and hope of a possible new life following his passions. He loves singing and guitar. I love any book that centers around a main character kind of finding their passions and following their creativity. So this was definitely a really enjoyable experience for me. Also, at the very end of the book, there's a link to the song that Thomas, the main character, sings, and I thought that was such a beautiful way to end. I was actually really upset that this didn't go on the shortlist. I felt like the shortlist this year has been quite disappointing. And the only other book that I read on the long list I haven't spoken about yet is Love Forms. I actually listened to this on audiobook, and boy, am I glad I did. I'm so glad I didn't purchase a copy, because this was horrendous. It was incredibly dull, boring, simple. I felt like everything was over-explained to a completely completely grating level. It was so oversimplified, some of the actions. I don't know why I was on the long list. I haven't really had this strong of a reaction towards a book on the Booker Prize long list before, but apart from maybe The 7 Moons of Mali Amida a few years back, I really hated that book. But yeah, Small Forms, a large nope for me. So I finished Audition by Katie Kitamura this morning in bed. That's why I look like this. I literally haven't done anything but read this morning. I actually really enjoyed this book. I didn't expect to enjoy it. This is following an unnamed narrator. It has the very literary fiction style of writing where there is no quotation marks for speech. It is very much a stream of consciousness kind of prose. It is following this unnamed middle-aged actress as she's struggling to differentiate art and life. Her performance becomes her life. She falls into this kind of weird grey area where she plays a role in her life and she doesn't play herself anymore. It's really beautifully written and I really enjoyed it. Simplistic in style, but very sharp and meaningfully written, I would say. So I'm kind of conflicted. I really enjoyed this. This is shortlisted for the Booker, so I do think this is definitely a fan favourite. I don't think this is necessarily a winner, but it is definitely a really brilliant read. The Loneliness of Sonia and Sunny was a crazy large book, and I am going to not criticize this in any way simply because I didn't give this book the time it needed. It's 700 pages. It's a massive, massive story. It is intergenerational family saga following these people over years and years. It only just recently got released in Australia, and because I was rushing to kind of read it in time for the shortlist and winner announcement, I just didn't give it the time it needed and it felt quite arduous. So I understand why this is in the shortlist. The author is extremely well regarded. I just need to go back and give it a reread over the span of maybe 2-3 weeks. The only book that I didn't get the chance to read in time is The Land in Winter by Andrew Miller. I simply didn't get the time to read this, and I won't be able to finish this in time for the winner announcement, but I still definitely plan on reading this. This was shortlisted, so this is the only book in the shortlist that I haven't read. But as you can see, I have the physical copy and I am definitely planning on reading it. Probably my next gloomy week off, I'll probably dive into it.